comes from a poll conducted by NPR, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Respondents to this survey over the age of 50 tended to blame discrimination on individual prejudice, while younger generations pointed to both individuals and biased laws. The two people we're going to meet now reflect those viewpoints. Martha Biebinger of member station WBUR introduces us. In a small colonial house in Springfield, Massachusetts, Edanri Rivera and Louis Mitchell do-si-do around the kitchen.
I offered coffee first.
I was thinking you wanted some coffee too.
Coffee is the lifeblood of my very existence.
Mitchell, a 57-year-old transgender man, owns this home. Rivera, a 27-year-old trans woman, rents a room. Many days to avoid scoffs, stares, and physical threats, Rivera never leaves the house.
Once I step out there, it's war sometimes with people.
To avoid war, Rivera works from home as a marketing writer. When she does go out, Rivera does not try to convince anyone in the grocery store checkout line or her Puerto Rican family that it's okay for her to wear a skirt. She lives with the pain of trading contact with her family for the joy of being herself.
I can't change people. We're so deeply rooted in their values. So the only thing I can do is to focus on policy and legislation, because we're always going to have a bias, but we need policy in place to reflect our values now in 2017.
Values that are becoming transgender friendly, Rivera says, at least among her generation.
Government needs to catch up.
Yeah.
Mitchell leans in. This United Church of Christ minister has been nodding often, but wants to make sure Rivera understands why older trans men and women are more focused on individual prejudice.
We've actually been around to see some policy changes.
Mitchell, who's African American, mentions the Civil Rights Act.
And we've also seen where the policy changes have not necessarily made all of us safer.
Is there a story that's...
Probably a shortage of stories. Well, in the first 6 months of my transition,
from presenting as a black woman to a black man,
I was probably pulled over 300% more in my first 6 months of transition than I had been in the previous 23 years of driving.
Mitchell still plans driving routes carefully because he says civil rights laws do not protect him from officers who see black men as a threat. Mitchell says laws are vital, but not enough yet.
In the meantime, I want to work on every heart that I can find to say, hey, it's me. You loved me yesterday. Why are you not loving me now?
So for people who are over 50, the battleground was the personal battleground.
Ray Carey, who runs the National LGBTQ Task Force, says older adults have lived for decades without legal protections, fighting those daily personal battles.
Who are my friends and neighbors and family, and are they going to support me when I come out?
But Carey says coming of age in the last decade or two as LGBT is completely different.
Their experience has been framed by working to get legal protections.
There's one more reason Edanri Rivera says many transgender 20 or 30-somethings focus on government. They rely on it for health insurance, employment assistance, and student loans.
So our dependence on the government is making us much more in tune as to the laws and policies in place that have put us there.
Well, beware, says Louis Mitchell.
More dependence on the government and a less dependable government.
Mitchell and Rivera do agree that after years of progress, they are now fighting to hold on to legal and lived rights they thought were secure.
Okay, let's examine this latest story that NPR is pushing that was supposed to air at 6 o'clock and didn't air till almost 6:30, which is a frequent tactic of NPR to get people to listen. You know, NPR exists to get people to listen. As long as you're listening, they're wasting your time. And they're going to feed you their line, which in this case is being endorsed by Harvard, the first institution here to uphold the livelihood of the slave driver. And as we know, the institution has worked for those corporations that have not only enslaved human bodies, yet destroyed the planet. And now this institution has done this study on the BLTG community and came up with this conclusion, which is nothing. Although the story ends with the idea that BLTG people are discriminated against. Well, let's look at the reality. How many LBGTB people are out there? You know, were they BLTG 10 years ago? You know, are they authentically BLTGs? No, because there's no such thing. These people just didn't feel attracted in their natural bodies. They had looked at their smartphones, you know, and they determined that they could become more attractive, which would mean they would have more power. And because people seek after power, this was something they were not willing to relinquish. So they changed their body. And they came to find out, you know, if they were a man and they put on a skirt, that they could walk down the street and, you know, wave their ass, and there would be other, you know, dirty men that would decide to engage in sexual activity with them, which they hadn't previously had the experience of. And they thought, wow, you know, I'm desirable now. And it felt good because the seed had been planted in them. And the seed was not a good seed. And now, the story is that the BLTG community is just as affected discriminately as the African people. Now, as an African, I take great offense to this because I people have been placed in chains and taken to a strange land to work for a strange master. And this having all kinds of implications, even centuries after it supposedly being abolished. And we know that it wasn't abolished, it was simply transferred to mass incarceration. That the current system does not work without a mass surplus of subservient labor. And that is the reason that the bad boys are attempting to automate the process. Now, the BLTG community are perfect targets for this process because they will be willing to take the chip. You notice how the BLTG, you know, are the so-called, you know, alternative lifestyle seekers. You know, they got the green hair, the tattoos, the piercings. You don't see somebody with a lot of piercing, a lot of tattoos that says, I hate gay, BLTG. It's wrong. You don't see it. Because this is all part of that lifestyle. And that lifestyle is the lifestyle of the beast. As proclaimed in Revelation 13, the first beast is man's rule. And the second beast being this artificial intelligence, the AI to see and know. And the Babylon, this is the Babylon's dream. And so the Babylon is formulating the culture to fit within their future. And the BLTG community is a large piece of the puzzle, so that these people become the receptors. Now, if I tell somebody you're gay and that's not cool, you know, that person can probably have me on a hate crime charge. But you know, somebody can say, hey, you're Rastafari, but that's not cool. And I'm not going to be able to do anything. You see? So gay people actually have more rights in the United States of the pedophile than straight people. You know, you hear a lot about these murders. There'll be like a murder here, a murder here. There'll be a few hundred murders in between them. But we hear about the murder because it's BLTG, and apparently this person's being discriminated against. But if you look at these people's lives, you'll come to find out that they're already at risk. They're running around, you know, from corner to corner, doing that nasty and all that kind of stuff. That's gonna cause some issues. And although all these institutions want to overlook that fact and act, well, you bring them to me and I'm gonna look at them. Yeah, of course, you got some real riders out there. They want to fake everybody to the bone to make it seem as if, you know, this is totally normal, and they dress normal and they try to act normal. They don't take the alternative route. You know, I know. Still, they ain't happy. You know, find me the statistics. How many of these BLTG people are becoming lifetime partners and becoming committed to each other solely? So, what we're dealing with is a fraud and a crime against God.